My Soulmate's a Slime by admay 1917. The writings. Shedding Tree. A year later. Tempest has to go on their daily life. Busy streets mark the start of a new day, shops opening up, vendors putting up their products to sell, children chasing one another, their merry laughter ringing in the air. New establishments were built, more families building houses, new residences kept coming, having heard of Tempest as a safe nation despite their mixed races. It sure is a nice day today, Noir muses as he walks the street with Maya by his side. To think that a whole year has passed since that fateful day. The first few months were rough, but over time, things began brightening up. The decree was announced that Noir and his soulmate would be taking over the leadership in the country, and the residents couldn't ask more for a suitable one, other than the very person appointed by their king himself. We just had our second harvest for the year. Of course, the market's livelier than usual. After all, Tempest has the best vegetable and crop production. At this time of year, tourists would flock just to purchase their share of goods. Maya answers, waving at the residents who greeted them. I wouldn't be surprised if our finances climb top-notch this year. Tourists keep coming back not only for our goods but for everything that Tempest has to offer. The Demon Prince implies, looking satisfied at the stockpile of goods everywhere and the influx of visitors. There were problems, but nothing they couldn't wrangle. Nations wanting to take advantage of the country would turn tail and run, the moment Noir gets into his business mode and scares the life out of them. An effective way to avoid war and put those nations in their place. Noir has all the qualities to become a wise, compassionate king if he wishes, but his loyalty to his master never wavers. Plus, he wished to live a fulfilling life with his soulmate one day. Your Highnesses, good morning. Why don't you come inside for a nice cup of hot coffee and some fresh from the oven pastries and cakes? Invited one of the shop owners specializing in bakery and cafe. Noir smiled at the older woman before he looked at Maya, just to see a big smile gracing her lips at the invitation. Well, that settles it then. We'd love to, ma'am. Thank you for inviting us, the leader replies, widening the grin of the elder shop owner. Oh, it's nothing. It's the least we can do. By the way, the wizards are also inside. Who? My brother? Maya asked, quite surprised. To think that her older brother and the rest of the wizards are here when it's still quite early in the morning. Usually, they would sleep in or rather not leave the estate at all. Pushing the door open, Noir intertwines his hand with his soulmate and pulled her inside. Well, let's go see them. As soon as they entered, a hand shot up in the air and waved at them. Oi, Maya, Noir, over here, Natsu called, beckoning them to their table. The others also turned to look at them, warm smiles drawn on their faces as they greeted them. The duo then sat down, just as one of the waiters came serving them with some refreshing coffee, cakes and pastries. You guys are quite early today, Noir began as soon as the waiter left their table. Well, we all had errands to do and just met here for breakfast, Gray replies. I see. Even so, I know you might have headed back to the forest trying to study the magic circle, the leader says straightforwardly, and Maya chuckled, seeing the wizards flinch. Noir smiles fondly at that. He appreciates them doing all means to study and interpret the magic circle Sue had discovered in the forest, before the invasion of the sirens and those meteors. For some reason, the magic circle stays despite all their efforts to eradicate it. And that is why Noir had assigned guards to look after it in case something happens. Next time, come up with a better excuse. See, I told you guys there is no fooling this man. Lucy pinched Natsu's arms, making the later yelp. Ah. Hey. We should have known. Well, there is no point in hiding it anyways. Urza simply sipped her drink. And we are not foolish enough to go near it knowing it sucks our powers dry, she adds, and all of them could see she is annoyed. We wanted to study the writings on that magic circle, but it's still hopeless until now, Lucy chimes with a defeated sigh. If only we have something that works on that thing, Wendy bits on her cookie, looking glum as well. Noir smiles, listening to the complaints of the group. He'd applaud them of their determination to study the magic circle, but as they have said, there is nothing else they can do at the moment except guard and place a force field around it. Still, what you did was achievement enough. You're the only ones who got the closest without being exposed to its harmful effect and even managed to snag 2 writings from it, he say, trying to lift their spirits. Yeah, but it's still useless. We can't find anything that matches those writings. There is no progress until now, frowns Natsu before stuffing himself with more of the cakes. If only we have someone who can depict those writings, Carla can't help but mutter. They've been trying to decipher and understand those writings, but it's all for naught. Lucy did her very best to study it, but it just weakened her as well. Hey, we'll be fine. As long as the magic circle stays that way and not harbor anything else, then, we are safe. The Queen of the Stars chimes with a smile, patting Happy on the head, the Exceed leaning on her touch. Noir nods agreeing. We have multi-layer barrier around it as well, so I can guarantee you that we are safe. Cause the barrier itself was made out of Rimuru-sama's magicules. The wizards were surprised at that. They were left in the dark and knew nothing about how the said barrier was casted. The Emperor's magicules? How is that possible? Happy questions after recovering. Yeah, and how come we haven't noticed it? Gray adds. Maya and Noir exchanged glances before the lady opened her mouth to speak. Only the closest subordinates of Rimuru could actually feel it, not everyone in Tempest does. We didn't know how it happened, but I think it has something to do with Raphael. Silence. Raphael? You mean Rimuru's supercomputer inside of him or whatever? Natsu got the gist and hollered in even more shock. Reactions are expected given that Noir and Maya were on the same page when they first noticed it. Wait a moment, Raphael? You mean that's the skill Rimuru was talking about? Exclaimed Urza, having realized it as well. Yes, Princess Urza. The very one. It's an ultimate skill of our master. But please keep silent, cause only a few knows about this. Noir explains, asking a favor at the same time. Gray took a sip of his tea before answering. Well, I figured. Even some of his closest subordinates are unaware of that entity. Who are we to expose it like that and break his trust? Right, we are not a tattletale. Rest assured we'll bury this secret, assured Lucy, now finally smiling. Noir bows in gratitude. No wonder Fairy Tail remains superior among all the wizard guilds. They just have this bond that makes them have a close-knit relationship like a real family. Thank you. Alvarez Kingdom. Zarif. Hearing his name called by that sweet voice, he lifted his head from the paperworks he has been working on just to see his wife approaching him. Mavis. Fairy Tail's first master and their founder. The very one that taught the core and values of the guild they know in the present and the future to come. A smile adorned his lips as he pulled the chair next to him so his wife could settle down. As soon as she did, he leaned in and pecked her forehead. I take it the meeting went well? He asked, returning back to his task at hand. Yes. Since Alvarez has the most advanced technology thanks to Mava and Maya, it was easier to mentor our aspiring writers. That is good to hear. Well then, I hope that you had lunch? Zarif had to monitor his wife's diet from time to time. She'd bury herself in mountain of works and forget about meals altogether. She could even go on without eating for a day. Don't worry, I did. The real question is if you had any progress, love, the Empress replies and questions back, pointing at the papers stacked on her husband's table. Zarif's eyes trailed to them. Almost every space on his table is filled with books and scrolls, along with the books he had acquired from the different nations. I might have an idea on what these writings are, but I have to make sure yet. If we have a 100% answer, I'll write a book myself and head to Tempest the soonest time possible. Mavis was surprised, but it was quickly replaced with a smile. At last, after a month of studying, they finally have a lead. And knowing her husband, it won't take much time now. Natsu and Maya had sent the writings they managed to get from the mysterious magic circle and asked them for help in translating what it means. But now, things are finally looking bright. I knew you could do it, Zarif. You are a genius, after all. Zarif smiles at that. Says the other genius herself, the Emperor, says, stealing a quick kiss from his wife. Anyways, wanna come with? To Tempest? The Alvarez ruler nods. I am glad you asked, cause I'll go by myself if you leave me behind again. It's been a long while since I have seen Natsu, Maya and the others. Now that they are temporarily residing at Tempest, not seeing them at the Fairy Tail Guild is quite lonely. Yeah? Don't worry then, you'll be seeing them soon, Mavis. The door to the bedroom was just closed as Xian and Shuna left after visiting their slumbering king. It's been a full year and yet there is still no sign of him waking up anytime soon. Tempest has flourished and progressed even further, but everyone has still this empty spot in their hearts that only their ruler could fill. Rimuru has done so much for them. They witnessed how their nation was established, from nothing to one of the most sought upon. It's all due to him using every ounce of his ability to build them a safe place they call their home. They are not worrying that much though. All because of the promise Rimuru had left to every one of them. That he and Meva would be back. And that is a guaranteed assurance. No matter how much time has passed, they'd wait for them. Just as they have promised to their sleeping ruler as well. That is why they did everything they could so Rimuru doesn't have to worry the moment he'll wake up. Magicules and Aethernano are still keeping the room bright and serves as an assurance to everyone who'll enter the room telling them their rulers are still with them. A few minutes passed since Xian and Shuna left. The Magicules shone brighter than ever before. Gentle gust of breeze blew around, just before 7 different colored gemstones emerged floating above Rimuru's sleeping figure. And soon his fingers moved slightly.